Chapter 400. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Captain, this is going to kill us, Lei Bao said. HQ Nu G, fastest, on 5-inch we still have to fight. If we don't go now, it'll be too embarrassing, Ho Jian said after taking a deep breath. Alright, we don't have to fight to the death. If it doesn't work, we'll retreat and think of something else, Night Sorrow said to Lei Bao and the others. Under Lei Hua and Qin Nan's lead, Night Sorrow's group of 5 arrived at the bottom of the black pit. It was a cave filled with darkness energy. At this moment, there was still dense darkness energy rushing towards them. Once you enter, you will immediately be attacked by the dark creatures. If you can fight, then fight. If you can't, then retreat. As Qin Nan spoke, he waved his hand and killed all the dark creatures that came out of the pit. The 4 of you wait outside. I'll go in first. If I don't come back in a while, you guys can go in. Night Sorrow raised his right hand and pulled out the reincarnation spear from his back. Night Sorrow could have stored the reincarnation spear in his storage ring, but he didn't do so. He liked the feeling of having the spear with him. With the reincarnation spear by his side, he felt at ease. Nodding at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier and dodged the incoming dark creatures before rushing into the cave. Night Sorrow was not used to the impact of the dark energy, but fortunately, it did not suppress him. After rushing for about 5 to 6 meters, the area in front of Night Sorrow suddenly opened up. He had entered this special space. The moment he charged out, Night Sorrow felt a strong gust of wind assaulting his body. Some dark creatures had already begun attacking him. Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and began to attack indiscriminately. As Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear, thunderous explosions rang out. The dark creatures that surrounded Night Sorrow were all sent flying. Immediately after, Night Sorrow moved his feet and brandished the 7-star dazzling moon spear, launching a barrage of attacks at the dark creatures. After stabilizing his footing, Night Sorrow had the time to observe the situation before him. This was a canyon filled with thousands of dark creatures. Most of them were rank 3 and rank 4. 2 rank 5 dark violent bears were slowly wandering around the canyon entrance. The situation wasn't serious. Night Sorrow's biggest worry was that he wouldn't be able to gain a foothold and would be kicked out as soon as he entered. Now that wasn't a big problem, so he just had to kill. Every time Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear, he would take the life of a dark creature. While Night Sorrow was frantically fighting, Ho Jian and the others had also entered the battlefield. They began to fight from both sides of Night Sorrow. Love Gong Little Seiko, there's a lot of them, but it's not as terrifying as I thought, Nan Liu said as she fought. Pay attention to the 2 rank 5 dark violent bears at the entrance of the canyon. Don't get hit by a sudden attack, Night Sorrow said after killing a dark demon wolf that was attacking Nan Liu. Yes, Captain, you be careful too, Nan Liu said. If it's not that serious, then why were there so many dark creatures on the island a while ago? Lei Jing asked, puzzled. Are you stupid? They didn't crawl over in a day or two. They accumulated over a long period of time, Ho Jian said. We don't lack time. Let's advance steadily. The current situation is much better than last time. At least we have a place to run. If we get tired and can't hold on, we'll return to the passage. I don't believe we can't kill them all, Night Sorrow arranged as he fought. This time, Night Sorrow didn't feel much pressure because he had nothing to worry about. He had a place to retreat and a solid safety point. If he couldn't hold on, he could retreat and come back again. After fighting for half an hour, Night Sorrow noticed that Lei Zheng and Lei Bao's condition wasn't good, so he ordered them to retreat. After all, the 2 of them were only at the 6th level of the spirit severing stage. They weren't at the late stage of the spirit severing stage yet. Night Sorrow was the last to retreat to the spatial passage. After returning to the entrance of the spatial tunnel, Yi Shang discovered that there were quite a few people gathered near it. There were 6 or 7 black-armored guards whose cultivation bases Yi Shang couldn't see through. After Yi Shang's group had entered, Qin Nan had arranged for them to be placed near the spatial tunnel. What's the situation? Seeing Night Sorrow come out, Lei Hua stepped forward and asked. Behind him were Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, who were wearing masks, but their eyes were filled with worry. There are a lot of dark creatures over there. We need to kill them slowly. We used up a lot of energy just now, so we retreated first, Night Sorrow said. Good, it's good that you can hold on. The people who went in the previous few times were killed before they could stabilize their footing. Commander Qin, arrange a group of peak rank 4 troops. When Night Sorrow and the others have stabilized their footing, we'll go in and kill them, Lei Hua said. That's not a problem. In the past, the danger was that we were killed immediately after we went in. We didn't know what the situation was. Now that the situation is clear, it's easy to handle, Xianhuan nodded. A few days ago, because they had to be careful, Lei Hua and Xianhuan sent a single person or a group of people to go in. However, they didn't have the strength to withstand the pressure of a group battle like Night Sorrow. They were killed the moment they went in. They didn't even know what the situation was. The main reason was that they were a bit unlucky. At that time, there were rank 5 dark creatures blocking the spatial passage. At that time, the rank 5 dark creatures blocking the way had already charged out of the passage and were killed. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow and the others were able to stabilize their footing after entering the spatial passage. There are still hidden dangers. I discovered 4 rank 5 dark creatures. 3 of them are early rank 5, while the last one's cultivation base cannot be determined, Night Sorrow explained. During the battle earlier, Night Sorrow had discovered that, aside from the 2 tier 5 violent dark bears, there were also rank 5 dark creatures further away from the spatial passage. 4 rank 5 dark creatures. This will be troublesome, Lei Hua said after pondering for a moment. If it's only an early rank 5 dark creature, I can give it a try. However, we don't have the chance to fight it one-on-one right now. Rank 5 dark creatures are very powerful. It's impossible to kill them instantly. If we cause too much of a commotion, the other dark creatures will take action, Night Sorrow said. But if we don't deal with these 4 dark creatures, it will be a dead end, Xianhuan said. The situation is still very difficult. Fortunately, you guys are able to stabilize your footing. We still need to form a rank 4 team. Can you let the others hold off the low-rank dark creatures while you guys lure them over and kill them one by one? Lei Hua proposed a plan. However, Night Sorrow, you still have to bear the risk. You have the experience and ability to fight rank 5 dark creatures. The others can't, Xianhuan nodded and said. Night Sorrow nodded. This arrangement was the most reasonable for now. Xianhuan then went to gather the manpower. This time she brought a lot of people with her. Soon, a team of 30 late-stage sensory stage experts gathered. In the past, I was worried that the situation inside was unclear, so I didn't dare to let you guys in. Now that the Lord of Tianji Tower has investigated the situation inside, you guys need to fight, Xianhuan said. Lord Commander, don't worry. We swear to fight to the death. The team of 30 roared in unison. Good. From now on he will be your leader. How should I address him? Xianhuan handed the authority of the team to Night Sorrow. Chapter 401. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Shang, this is our Tianji Tower's Lord Shang. You can address him as Lord 13. Lei Hua answered on behalf of Night Sorrow. Captain? 30 men in black armor and blood-red capes bowed. More. Nuo /best. Faster. Lord 13, do you have anything to say? Xianhuan asked Night Sorrow. She had long since recognized Night Sorrow, but some things were better left unsaid. I have a few words to say. Follow me in and recognize me as your captain. I will be responsible for your safety and your lives. First of all, I want you to obey my orders and retreat as soon as I say so. Most importantly, you are not allowed to abandon any of your companions, Night Sorrow said. Yes. The 30 black-armored blood robes guards straightened their backs and accepted the order. Aside from Lei Hua and Xianhuan, no one knew that these 30 men were not ordinary blood robes guards. They were a team of blood robes guards secretly nurtured by the city lord's mansion. They were the trump card of Dongxian City's guards and had fought in the battle against the Golden Flame sect. Night Sorrow and the others rested for a while. We'll go in first. You guys wait for a while. After instructing the 30 blood robes guards, Night Sorrow raised his reincarnation spear and led Ho Jian's group in. After entering, Night Sorrow and the others fought with all their might, pushing the battle line forward to make room for the people behind them. As Night Sorrow's group fought with all their might, the space behind them was cleared a little. At this time, the blood robes guards also rushed in. Don't leave the team. Form groups of 5 and fight as a team. Don't advance prematurely, Night Sorrow ordered the blood robes guards as he fought. When the blood robes guards entered, they were shocked to see the corpses at their feet and nearby. So many corpses proved that a fierce battle had taken place here. However, they were well trained after all. The surprise only lasted for a moment before they formed teams and began to fight. After fighting for an hour, Night Sorrow gave the order to retreat. Even though the battle wasn't as intense as the first time, fighting for an hour still consumed a lot of energy. Night Sorrow's team was the last to retreat, and he was also the last to leave. How is it? Lei Hua was still worried. This is a war of attrition. We will fight without any losses and the final victory will be ours. Baidu search Love Gong Xiao Shua www.ichuxs.com, Night Sorrow said. Good. If you don't have enough resources, just say the word. The City Lord's mansion will do its best to support you. Men, 5 sets of body armor. Qin Nan shouted to the people behind him. Next, an old man appeared. He retrieved 5 sets of battle armor from his storage ring and handed them to Night Sorrow and the others. Give him the silver battle armor, Lei Hua said as he pointed at Night Sorrow. The manager of Dongshan City's resources glanced at Qin Nan. The people of Tianji Tower couldn't reach the City Lord's mansion, so Lei Hua was wearing a mask that covered his signature hair. Commander, there are spare silver battle armor, but it is for a commander-level battle armor. We can't give it out casually, the old man said to Qin Nan. Take it. Qin Nan simply spat out a word. The old man nodded and took out a half-body silver soft armor from his storage ring and handed it to Night Sorrow. Is this appropriate? Night Sorrow asked as he took the silver soft armor. It is appropriate. You are fighting for the Eastern Xian region, so you are qualified to use any resources, Qin Nan said. Yang Lei stepped forward and put the silver soft armor on Night Sorrow. She also tied the cloak that came with the silver armor to Night Sorrow. Then, Qin Nan asked the manager of Dongshan City's resources to distribute some elixir resources to them. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow led his men into battle again. Over the next hour, Night Sorrow led Ho Jian's group of 4 and 30 Bloodstrike guards into the dark space. During their next charge, a rank 5 dark violent bear moved and flew towards Night Sorrow. Brothers of the Black Iron Guards, defend. Ho Jian, you guys block this fellow's retreat. I will deal with it. Night Sorrow took out the 2 sky-piercing spears that he had wrapped around the ice serpent tendons. He grabbed one and threw it at the dark violent bear. He didn't know that this team was made up of Bloodstrike guards, so he thought that they were the elites of the Black Iron Guards. Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear was very cold. By the time the dark violent bear noticed it, the sky-piercing spear was already in front of it. The dark violent bear clawed at the sky-piercing spear. The sky-piercing spear was sent flying by the dark violent bear's powerful paw. However, because of the ice serpent tendons, Night Sorrow pulled it back. Night Sorrow then used the sky-piercing spear to launch a second sky-piercing spear. After launching the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow's body flashed as he charged towards the dark violent bear. By now, the dark violent bear had already flown into the small circle that Night Sorrow's group had created. If Night Sorrow didn't charge in, he could easily cause harm to the others. At that moment, the dark violent bear landed on the ground. Its 2 claws, covered in dark energy, swatted at Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear. The sky-piercing spear was sent flying again. At the same time, the dark violent bear grabbed the ice serpent tendons in its claws and pulled them forward, wanting to pull Night Sorrow over. Night Sorrow's myriad Dao Tome erupted with energy as he pushed soaring dragon steps to the limit. He circled the dark violent bear twice, and the ice serpent tendons on his left arm also wrapped around the dark violent bear. The biggest difference between a tier 5 and a tier 4 was that one could fly for a long time, while the other couldn't. If the dark violent bear wanted to fight while flying, then Night Sorrow's group would be helpless. They could only passively take a beating. Therefore, Night Sorrow didn't intend to give the dark violent bear the opportunity to fly. After wrapping around the dark violent bear, Night Sorrow pulled the ice serpent tendons tight. He then leaped into the air and wrapped the extra ice serpent tendons on his left arm around the dark violent bear's neck. He then turned around and stepped on the dark violent bear's waist with his right foot, while his left foot stepped on the dark violent bear's back, tightening the ice serpent tendons around its neck. With Night Sorrow's strength, the dark violent bear suffered. The ice serpent tendons were very thin, and they directly wrapped around its neck. This made it impossible for the dark violent bear to grab the ice serpent tendons and release its neck. Night Sorrow let out a low roar as he used his left arm to pull the ice serpent tendons tightly. He then waved the reincarnation spear with his right hand and thrust it into the dark violent bear's back. At this moment, the dark violent bear had just loosened the ice serpent tendons around its neck. Night Sorrow let out a low roar as the reincarnation spear pierced 2 feet into the dark violent bear's body. He exerted a second force with his right arm, and half of the reincarnation spear's body was thrust into the dark violent bear's heart. Retreat. Retreat steadily. Night Sorrow gave the order to retreat. At the same time, the vibration energy on the reincarnation spear exploded, shattering the dark violent bear's heart. He then leaned on the dark violent bear's back and used his shoulder to lift the struggling dark violent bear up. He then rotated his body to block the incoming dark creatures. Chapter 402. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Evil creature, you're courting death. With a low roar, a blade light slashed towards Night Sorrow. Love go little say W, choose stop. A figure stood in front of Night Sorrow and blocked the blade light with a wave of his hand. Look carefully. Can't you tell if it's a man or a beast? Night Sorrow raised the violent bear and roared furiously. He was a little angry that he had almost been killed by one of his own. Sorry, I only saw a violent bear coming out. I didn't see anyone, the middle-aged man said apologetically. All right, Lord 13, don't be angry. This fellow is too big. If you don't pay attention you won't be able to see anyone below, Xianhuan, who had blocked the blade for Night Sorrow, said. Night Sorrow exerted force on his shoulder and threw the struggling violent bear to the ground. With a shake of his right hand, he pulled out his reincarnation spear. Men, drag this fellow away. We'll have an extra meal tonight. Leave the good ingredients for Lord 13. Xianhuan waved his hand at the black armored guard. The black iron guard came over and handed the ice flood dragon tendon to Yishang. Several people carried the dark violent bear and left. This dark violent bear was more than 6 meters tall and weighed close to 20,000 pounds. Yishang could carry it and run by himself, but the others couldn't. You're really brutal. You killed a class 5, class 2 violent bear just like that. I also thought that a dark demonic beast had rushed out, Xianhuan said with a smile. This fellow is a little stupid. I got lucky. Brothers, rest up. We won't go out today, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the sky. Yes. The 30 Bloodstrike guards roared in unison. Night Sorrow and the others returned to their tents to rest. They had been fighting at a high intensity for the entire day, so they were tired. Sikong Chiyu brewed tea for Night Sorrow and the others. Leader, right now only the tier 5 dark creatures pose a threat to us, Ho Jian said. Don't worry. If we can't win we'll run back. If we can't win we'll run. We still have the defensive bracelets so we won't be in too much danger, Night Sorrow said. After chatting for a while, everyone returned to their own tents to rest because they still had to fight tomorrow. At this moment, Lei Hua and Xianhuan were sitting across from each other in the largest tent. That fellow is indeed powerful. I've asked the blood-robed guards, and they say that he single-handedly crushed the dark violent bear to death. He's so powerful that he's practically a beast in human form. Love Gone Little Seika Xianhuan said. That's right. Today he carried the struggling dark violent bear out. If I hadn't noticed that the dark violent bear's aura was very weak, I would have made a move. Lei Hua also said with deep emotion. Be positive. First issue of edition. It's a good thing that he was able to control the situation. Perhaps this is the value of being invincible among those of the same level. Otherwise, who knows how many losses we would have to suffer to stabilize the situation. However, we can't afford to lose our blood-robed guards, Xianhuan said. The blood-robed guards have no problem fighting against those of the same level, but they're not strong enough to fight those of a higher level. Lei Hua nodded. I feel much more at ease now, Xianhuan said after taking a deep breath. Night Sorrow rested for the night. He didn't care about his blood-stained armor and combat clothes. He left his tent and went to the bottom of the pit. Are you all right? If you feel tired you can rest for a day, Xianhuan said. I'm fine. I don't know how the others are doing. Night Sorrow was fine, but he was worried about the others. While they were talking, Ho Jian's group of 4 and the 30 blood-robed guards arrived at the pit. What does everyone think? Yishan looked at the group and asked. No problem. Everyone replied with a bow. I'll repeat it again. If we go in together we'll come out together. If we feel that we can't hold on we'll retreat. Yesterday we killed a tier 5 dark creature. Today we'll probably fight another battle, so the danger is relatively high. Everyone be careful. Night Sorrow strapped 2 sky-piercing spears with ice flood dragon tendons to his waist. Rest assured, Captain, the blood-robed guards growled. Okay, I'll go in and take a look. You guys wait here. I'll enter in a moment. Ho Jian, you guys wait here as well, Night Sorrow said. Holding the reincarnation spear, Night Sorrow entered the spatial tunnel. As soon as he exited the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow discovered that he couldn't move. A man with a pair of curved horns hovered above the battlefield. A venerable level dark creature. Night Sorrow's heart trembled. All the energy in his body erupted as he tried to break free from the spatial shackles. Die. The dark creature's venerable sent a palm strike at Night Sorrow. Bang. An extremely ferocious energy struck Night Sorrow's body. Energy surged on the silver armor and it shattered after 2 vibrations. Following that, Night Sorrow's robe shattered, leaving behind only his pants and the shining ice silk robe. At the crucial moment, Night Sorrow activated the ice silk robe's defense. Even so, Night Sorrow still spat out a mouthful of blood. Sensing that the binding force on his body had disappeared, Night Sorrow slapped the ground with his left hand and rolled back into the spatial tunnel. The venerable level dark creature was too powerful. Night Sorrow was no different from an ant in front of it. After entering the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow ignored his injuries and rushed out in a flash. This was because he saw the dark creature flying towards the spatial tunnel. After exiting the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow shouted, "Retreat! Retreat quickly! The venerable level dark creature is charging over." Lei Ho waved his arm and energy wrapped everyone out of the pit. At the same time, energy circulated around Qin Nan's body and a flexible sword appeared in his hand. At this time, the man with the curved horn also appeared at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. The moment he appeared, Qin Nan's sword slashed towards him and the spatial tunnel. Qin Nan's sword slashed out. Wherever the sword light passed, black spatial cracks would appear. After being attacked, the middle-aged man with the curved horn flew into the sky. "Guard this place. Don't let other dark creatures come out and mess things up. I'll go kill it," Qin Nan shouted. Following Qin Nan's words, a man wearing silver armor blocked the entrance of the spatial tunnel. This was a commander of the Black Iron Guards. The fact that the black energy in front of the spatial tunnel was imprisoned meant that he was also a venerable level cultivator. Qin Nan rose into the air and confronted the dark creature. "If you don't come out, I won't be able to go in. If you dare to come out, then die." Qin Nan's body flashed as he rushed towards the dark creature. "It's dead. 13, are you okay?" At this time, Lei Ho looked at Night Sorrow beside him. "I was almost in trouble," Night Sorrow said as he wiped the blood that flowed down from his mask to his chin. "It's good that you're fine. Your injuries can be healed. As long as you're alive." Lei Ho was relieved after glancing at Night Sorrow. When he saw Night Sorrow vomiting blood and rolling out, Lei Ho was really shocked. "Captain, where are your clothes?" Ho Jin looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Chapter 403. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow could only see the rolling energy in the sky. He couldn't see anything else. Love gone little say W. Chu, don't worry, it's at the early stage of the venerable realm. It's not Commander Qin's match at all. The battle will end soon. I didn't expect there to be a venerable dark creature here, Lei Ho said. Lei Ho was a little scared. Night Sorrow had really escaped death this time. Under the confinement of a venerable, it was impossible for a rank 4 cultivator to break free. It was really rare for Night Sorrow to be able to escape. With a miserable roar, the battle ended, and the sky became clear again. Looking carefully, Night Sorrow saw that Qin Nan's soft sword was stabbed into the dark creature's head. Half of the sword tip was sticking out from the back of the head. Snorting coldly, Qin Nan retreated a distance. With a wave of his arm, energy wrapped around the dark creature's body and landed on the ground. "Bastard. I can't wait for you to come out and die. 13, is there anything wrong?" Qin Nan dragged the dark creature's body to Night Sorrow. "I'm fine. My internal organs were shaken a little." Night Sorrow reached out and took off a piece of silver armor from his shoulder. "A rank 5 silver armor shattered and you're fine. No one can do this except for you." Qin Nan looked at the silver armor fragment that Night Sorrow threw away and then looked at the ice silk soft clothes on Night Sorrow's body. "Night Sorrow, is your soft clothes a spirit artifact, ice silk soft clothes?" Lei Ho asked. "Yes." Night Sorrow nodded. He took out a battle robe and put it on. "Deputy Palace Master, this dark venerable gave me some inspiration. Dark creatures have a violent personality. If Night Sorrow can lure them out and we can kill them, the situation will be easier to control." Qin Nan took out his sword and collected the dark venerable's horn and crystal core before throwing them to the City Lord's Mansion's resource manager. "That won't do. There are too many Tier 3 and Tier 4 dark creatures. It'll be difficult to lure out a high-level dark creature." Night Sorrow interjected before Lei Ho could speak. "I see. 13, go and heal your wounds first. We'll talk about entering the dark space after you've recovered," Qin Nan said. Seeing Night Sorrow's ice silk robe, Qin Nan knew that Wu Lingfei valued Night Sorrow a lot. That was because it was her protective robe. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow drank some origin spirit liquid and began to heal. The attack that Venerable Heian had given him was quite heavy. While Night Sorrow was recovering, Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, and Ho Jian were waiting for him. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.aichuxs. Ho Jian and the others felt very complicated. They knew that if it weren't for Night Sorrow taking care of them and not going in first, then who knew how many of them would have died today. In Lei Hua's tent, Qin Nan was looking at the fragments of silver armor that had fallen from Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow's defensive power is very strong. The silver armor was shattered and the ice silk robe offset a part of it. That was still equivalent to a mid-fifth order's full power attack. His internal organs were only shaken, Qin Nan said. Was it right or wrong for us to send him in? If something happens to him, we really won't be able to explain it to Sir. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs.com, Lei Hua said with some hesitation. After Lei Hua finished speaking, he suddenly stood up. Qin Nan also stood up. The tent's curtain was lifted and Wu Lingfei appeared in a white robe and a golden mask. My lady. Lei Hua and Qin Nan both bowed. Go call Yi Shang over. Wu Lingfei walked to the main seat, turned around and ordered. Qin Nan bowed and left the tent. Lei Hua reported what happened today and asked for Wu Lingfei's opinion. However, Wu Lingfei didn't say anything and didn't make any arrangements. When Qin Nan arrived, Night Sorrow stopped meditating. Although his face was a bit pale, his blood energy was a lot better. 13 Come with me. Qin Nan waved to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and the others and followed Qin Nan to the tent in the center of the camp. Aunt Fei, why are you here? Seeing Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow was very surprised. I felt the profound jade energy in your body was violently shaken, so I came to take a look. Are you okay? Wu Lingfei asked. I'm fine. It's just that my blood energy was shaken a little. I just need to meditate and recover. I can continue fighting tomorrow afternoon at the latest. Night Sorrow said. You don't need to fight. Even if I have to pay a price tomorrow, I will destroy this spatial passage. Wu Lingfei said. My lady, you can't. If there is a backlash from the power of law, you will have to bear the consequences. This will destroy your foundation. Lei Hua was a little anxious. Aunt Fei, I can withstand it. I don't need you to do anything. I will tell you when I can't. Noticing Lei Hua's anxious attitude and knowing that destroying the spatial passage would cause great harm to Wu Lingfei, Yi Shan hurriedly said. Okay, remember. If you can't handle it, just shake the profound jade energy in your body and go meditate to heal. Wu Lingfei nodded to Night Sorrow. You two go too. Wu Lingfei waved her hand to drive them away. Lei Hua and Qin Nan went to Lei Hua's tent. My lady is a little angry this time. Qin Nan said. Of course. Didn't you hear what Night Sorrow called her lady? Lei Hua glanced at Qin Nan. Then what should we do next? Qin Nan didn't know how to arrange the next battle. Without Night Sorrow at the front, the Blood Strike Guards would suffer casualties if they went in. This was something she didn't want to see. Should she let Night Sorrow continue fighting? However, she didn't know Wu Lingfei's attitude. I don't know either. I think we should follow the original plan. If the lady doesn't agree, she will stop it. Lei Hua said. Qin Nan nodded. She knew that this was the only way. Night Sorrow returned to his tent and continued to meditate to heal. He felt warm in his heart. He knew that Wu Lingfei was truly concerned about his safety. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come over in such a short time. Night Sorrow didn't say anything, so Ho Jian and the others didn't ask. After recovering for an entire night, he felt that his blood energy wasn't completely unblocked. He continued to recover for an entire morning before standing up. Captain, how's your recovery? Nan Liu asked. I'm as good as new. What do you guys think? Should we fight or not? Night Sorrow asked. Let's listen to the captain. If the captain wants to fight, we'll fight. Ho Jian and the others nodded. Then let's go to the spatial tunnel and see what arrangements the division master and Commander Qin have. Night Sorrow led them to the bottom of the black pit. Lei Hua and Qin Nan were in front of the spatial tunnel at the bottom of the black pit. The other 30 Blood Strike Guards were also standing in a row. Captain? When they saw Night Sorrow, the 30 Blood Strike Guards cupped their hands in greeting. You're all too polite. Night Sorrow cupped his hands in return before walking over to Lei Hua and Qin Nan. I9 head, why, hair, why, have you decided to enter? Lei Hua asked. Enter. If I can't, I'll run back. I don't believe that I'll meet a supremacy this time, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Chapter 404. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow took the black orb and looked at Qin Nan in confusion. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com. This is a seal-breaking bead. It can break through space. Keep it close to your body. If a venerable uses space bind, Use your energy to shatter it and think of a way to escape, Xianhuan said. 13. Don't you have a protective bracelet? If you encounter a venerable's attack, break through the space bind and activate the bracelet. That way you'll have a higher chance of escaping, Leihua said. Understood. You guys wait for me here. I'll go in first. If I don't make it back, you guys can go in. The chances of me getting killed are low, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the others and the blood-robed guards behind him. Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, then turned and entered the spatial tunnel. After entering the dark space, Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and used the 7-star dazzling moon spear. On this day, the entrance of the spatial tunnel was once again filled with dark creatures. Another rank 5 dark violent bear was also approaching the spatial tunnel. After Night Sorrow fought for a while, Ho Jian's group and the blood-robed guards rushed in. Everyone be careful. The dark violent bear and the dark blood ape are not a big problem. The undead zombie is the scariest, Night Sorrow said as he fought. Captain, we brought flying swords. If they come over, you can hold them off and use the opportunity to pull away. We can heavily injure them with a wave of flying swords, a blood-robed guard said. That's good. We brothers fight side by side. I don't believe we can't clean this place up, Night Sorrow said as he fought. Captain, you're amazing, the blood-robed guard said with a laugh. After fighting for a while, the dark blood ape came over. It was originally 7 to 8 li away, farther than the dark violent bear, but it was very vigilant. Night Sorrow first sent out 2 sky-piercing spears with ice flood dragon tendons. When the dark blood ape extended its paw, the 30 bloodstrike guards launched flying swords at the dark blood ape. The attack of over 30 flying swords instantly shattered the dark blood ape's protective energy shield. Just as the dark blood ape's energy shield shattered and it was about to attack the bloodstrike guards, Night Sorrow fired 2 sky-piercing spears. One of the sky-piercing spears struck the dark blood ape's thigh, while the other struck its abdomen. The 2 sky-piercing spears were effective. The energy in Night Sorrow's Book of Myriad Tao exploded as his body instantly accelerated. He used the ice jiao tendon to bind the dark blood ape. What he was most worried about was that the dark blood ape would fly. If that happened, there would be no way for him to fight. After using the ice dragon tendon to wrap around the dark blood ape's legs and waist, Night Sorrow held the reincarnation spear in his right hand horizontally and wrapped it around the ice dragon tendon. Then he rushed behind the dark blood ape and extended his left hand into the ice dragon tendon that was wrapped around the dark blood ape's waist. Then he exerted his strength and lifted the dark blood ape up. Brothers, retreat. Night Sorrow shouted as he carried the struggling dark blood ape and charged out of the spatial tunnel. Help me kill it. After charging out of the dark tunnel, Night Sorrow threw the struggling dark blood ape to the ground. Then he used both of his arms to twist one of the dark blood ape's incomparably thick arms and pressed the dark blood ape to the ground. Looking at the dark blood ape that was pressed down by Night Sorrow, Xianhuan sighed. He waved his flexible sword and pierced through the dark blood ape's head. 13. This commander doesn't understand. Between the two of you, who is the demonic beast? There were other demonic beasts inside that were interfering. It wasn't easy to deal with it, so I could only carry it out. Night Sorrow let go of the dark blood ape and pulled out his sky-piercing spear from the dark blood ape's body. He also put away the ice dragon tendon that was wrapped around the dark blood ape. Too savage. Leihua lamented. Other than Night Sorrow, he didn't know anyone else who could compete with a demonic beast in terms of strength. The dark violent bear was carried out by Night Sorrow. When it was carried out, although it didn't have much life force, it was still struggling. The dark blood ape didn't suffer any fatal injuries, but it was still carried out by Night Sorrow and pressed to the ground. There's still a rank 5 dark violent bear in that area. Rank 5 dark violent bears aren't the most dangerous. The most dangerous one is the undead zombie whose cultivation I can't see through. Night Sorrow said. If you can't see through its cultivation, then it's at least mid-rank 5. 13. Do you have any ideas? Xianhuan asked. I don't know. I don't have any good ideas at the moment. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said. Mid-rank 5 or late-rank 5 demonic beasts can injure you in one move. You have no chance of fighting them. The difference is too big. Leihua said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He lowered his head and thought. He knew that this was a problem that needed to be solved. Only by dealing with the dark violent bear and the undead zombie would they be able to clean up the space tunnel. Are there any treasures that can injure a rank 5 zombie in an instant? Yang Lei asked. We can think about this direction. However, the problem is that this spatial tunnel is one way. In other words, we can go from the inside to the outside. There is no energy restriction. The energy bodies that enter from our side cannot exceed the limit of Tier 5. The same goes for treasures, Lehua said. Everyone is tired. Let's not work today. We'll rest for a bit and fight again tomorrow. Night Sorrow looked at the Bloodstrike Guard members who weren't in good condition. Afterward, the Bloodstrike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others went to rest. Night Sorrow also returned to his tent. He kept thinking about how to deal with the dark zombie. It was the biggest threat. Just as Lehua said, if the dark zombie started attacking, Night Sorrow and the others wouldn't even have a chance to fight it. The difference between them was too big. It wasn't something that could be made up for with battle experience and skill. There was a fundamental difference between dark zombies and dark creatures. Dark creatures had intelligence, but they fought instinctively. They relied on their instincts and talent to fight. Dark zombies were either humans or demonic beasts in their previous lives. Even if they didn't have memories in their heads, their bodies still had memories. They could use battle techniques and were completely different from dark creatures. 13. The dark zombies aren't scary. The scariest ones are the dark spiritual corpses. According to the records, the dark spiritual corpses are at the venerable realm. Furthermore, they are much stronger than ordinary venerables, Xianxia said. I'm not sure what's going on here, Yishan said. The dark spiritual corpses are the evolution of dark zombies. After entering the venerable realm, they gained intelligence and recovered their memories from their previous lives. In addition to their innate talent with the death attribute, they are definitely outstanding among those at the same level, Xianxia said. So that's how it is. Having the death attribute really does give them an advantage over cultivators at the same level. I hope there aren't any dark spiritual corpses in this dark space, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 405. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go/Little? Xuanhuan provides you with wonderful novels to read. Could it be that there are people in this space? Night Sorrow asked in shock. Not necessarily. Corpses and living people are two different things. Perhaps a world collapsed or a spatial crack appeared, causing the space to become chaotic. The land containing the human corpses was absorbed by the dark space. After a long period of nourishment by dark energy, the corpses mutated, Xianxia said. I don't care about that. Now is the time to kill. I'm more excited now, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Be careful. Safety comes first because the two of us need you to take care of us. You still have a lot of things to do, Yanglei said. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Night Sorrow nodded. They chatted for a while. Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. He only needed to condense his true qi. What he needed to improve now was the power of the soul and the cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome. After this period of hard work, Night Sorrow's cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome naturally entered the middle stage of the 6th level of the consolidation realm. This was all thanks to the help of the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. Other people couldn't even get a piece of the Ice Spirit Blood Essence, but Night Sorrow had already consumed several pieces during this time. After a night of cultivation, Night Sorrow was called away by Lin Nan. She brought Night Sorrow to a large tent. Inside the tent, 30 Bloodstrike guards were meditating. When they saw the two of them arrive, they all stood up and bowed slightly to them. Because of some reasons, there are some things that I don't want to hide from you. These 30 people are the elites of the Black Iron Guards of Dongshan City. They form the 5th squad of the Bloodstrike Guards. From now on you will be their captains, Qin Nan said. Don't worry, Commander Qin. I will definitely lead them well. I can't guarantee that they will come out of this incident unscathed, but I will do my best to return them to you in one piece, Night Sorrow said. You're ignoring this, Commander, not only in this mission but also in the future. In the future you'll be their captain. They're one of the more special squads of the Bloodstrike Guard. They're the weakest but they have the most potential, Qin Nan said. That's not appropriate. Night Sorrow said after a moment of hesitation. You don't have to worry about their loyalty. Their loyalty can withstand any test. You don't have to worry about your identity either. This is also the will of that lord, Qin Nan said. Knowing that this was Wu Lingfei's intention, Night Sorrow was no longer worried. He reached out and took off his mask. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Night Sorrow. I am ranked 13th in my brother's sect, so you can also call me 13. Love Gon Little Sake, Night Sorrow said. Captain, you're so young? The blood-robed guard stared in shock at Night Sorrow's youthful yet determined face. Nonsense. Night Sorrow isn't even 20 years old. Not only is he a member of Tianji Tower, but he's also a member of the City Lord's Manor. It's enough for you to know that. Don't blabber. From now on you'll be his subordinates. 13. I'll leave these people to you. Qin Nan nodded to Night Sorrow and left. Wu Lingfei had instructed Qin Nan to make this arrangement. Qin Nan was just following orders. However, she felt that it was appropriate to leave this squad of blood-robed guards to Night Sorrow. Brothers, I'm not good with words, so I don't know how to say nice things. Since we'll be fighting side by side in the future, you can look for me if you have any problems. If I can help, I won't shirk. If I can't, I'll do my best to think of a way, Night Sorrow said. Forever. Forever *K free of charge * read novels *. Captain, you're too polite. We all admire you and are willing to fight side by side with you, a blood-robed guard said as he stepped forward. Then let's skip the pleasantries. After this problem is solved, let's go back and drink to our heart's content, Night Sorrow said with a nod. My name is Xueling. I'm the vice captain of this squad. If you have any problems, just let us know, the blood-robed guard Xueling said. All right. Tell the brothers to get ready. We'll continue to fight. Night Sorrow nodded to the blood-robed guards and left the tent. Vice Captain, our captain is really young, but his combat strength isn't weak, a blood-robed guard said. Xuefei. I've heard of the captain's name a long time ago. He's the most outstanding genius of Medicine Valley in thousands of years. Although he's not even 20 years old, he's killed many opponents. All of them were stronger than him. That's enough talk. Get ready to go, Xueling said. When the blood-robed guards arrived at the bottom of the black pit, Night Sorrow, Ho Jian and the others were waiting. Captain? The 30 blood-robed guards bowed to Night Sorrow. Since you're all here, wait a moment. I'll go in first. Today we're going to kill that rank 5 dark violent bear and then clean up the area in preparation for the duel with the dark zombie whose cultivation can't be seen clearly. After Yi Shan gave his instructions, he carried the reincarnation spear and entered the spatial tunnel. After entering the dark space, Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and started fighting. Ho Jian, Nan Liyue and the blood-robed guards followed him in. Take care of each other. Don't be too aggressive. We're not in a hurry. Take your time. It's impossible that we can't kill all of them, Night Sorrow said. Everyone fought steadily and surely in the following battles. Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear solved the crisis from time to time. Liyue, focus on the zombie whose cultivation we can't see. Don't worry about the violent dark bear. Just kill it when it comes over, Night Sorrow gave Nan Liyue a task. Captain, don't worry, Nan Liyue replied. Nan Liyue, Ho Jian and Lei Bao were all prideful people. They wouldn't easily acknowledge anyone. However, once they acknowledged someone, they would acknowledge them from the bottom of their hearts. Night Sorrow had achieved this. The battle continued. The dark creatures outside the canyon were replenishing their numbers. However, the replenishment speed wasn't as fast as Night Sorrow's slaughter. You guys hold your ground. I'll go get the violent dark bear. Once we deal with it, we'll be safer. We can't let 2 rank 5 demonic beasts attack us at the same time, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the blood-robed guards. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow executed the soaring dragon steps. He avoided the dark creatures attacking him and approached the violent dark bear. He was worried that the rank 5 dark zombie and the violent dark bear would attack the spatial tunnel together. That would be an unsolvable situation. In the eastern Shen region, only cultivators below the rank 4 realm could enter the dark space. If 2 rank 5 dark creatures led a large number of dark creatures to block the tunnel, then whoever entered would die. Night Sorrow's soaring dragon steps were fast and nimble. Ordinary rank 4 and rank 3 dark creatures couldn't attack him. When Night Sorrow was 3 li away from the violent dark bear, it discovered Night Sorrow. With a furious roar, it flew towards Night Sorrow. At this time, Night Sorrow turned and ran. If the violent dark bear caught up to him, he would be finished. Night Sorrow turned back and the violent dark bear started to chase. Its speed was much faster than Night Sorrow's. Chapter 406. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow hadn't used his innate skill, Spatial Rend, since he had mastered it. Now he wanted to give it a try. Baidu searched Love Go divided by Xiao at www.achux. Koma's Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy erupted. The innate bloodline energy flowed along his bones and flew out from the Shindao acupoint on his neck. Look at the original chapter BGTR*, only the sound of space splitting and spatial ripples could be heard. The spatial rend energy slashed towards the dark violent bear. The energy directly slashed the dark violent bear's left shoulder, leaving a deep gash. The dark violent bear had sensed danger and moved its body. Otherwise, Night Sorrow's attack would have landed on its throat. Baidu searched Love Go divided by xianxia www.ux. So beautiful. Night Sorrow inwardly exclaimed. Even though the spatial rend was only a few dozen meters away, it already had such power. How could Night Sorrow not be pleasantly surprised? After estimating his innate bloodline energy, Night Sorrow felt that he could use spatial rend 3 times. Night Sorrow was very satisfied that he could use this attack 3 times. Although it wasn't a true spatial rend, the killing effect was very strong. Although his mind was filled with thoughts, Night Sorrow's speed wasn't slow. After a few shuttles, he returned to the spatial tunnel. Help me stand guard. After entering the cleared area, Night Sorrow shouted to Ho Jian's group of 4 and the blood-robed guards. As Night Sorrow shouted, the dark violent bear arrived above the battlefield. It continuously slapped at Night Sorrow, its energy slamming into the ground and creating earth-shattering explosions. Ho Jian's group of 4 was very calm. They immediately sealed off the path that Night Sorrow had used to return, preventing the other dark creatures from rushing over. The Bloodstrike guards were also well-trained, so they weren't affected by the dark violent bear's violent attacks. They all defended their own areas. On Night Sorrow's side, he dodged the dark violent bear's attacks while thinking about how to deal with this problem. Currently he only had 2 ways of attacking the dark violent bear. One was the sky-piercing spear and the other was the spatial rend. Night Sorrow did not want to casually use spatial rend, so he could only choose to use sky-piercing spear. Night Sorrow's body flashed as he arrived beneath the dark violent bear. The sky-piercing spear continuously shot towards the dark violent bear. Night Sorrow moved his body to control the firing angle. The sky-piercing spear was shot straight up into the sky. This way, even if it didn't hit the target, the sky-piercing spear would still fall down and not disappear somewhere else. The sky-piercing spear continued to be flung away, emitting sharp whistling sounds. Night Sorrow still had 2 sky-piercing spears with ice flood dragon tendon attached to his waist that he hadn't used yet. Night Sorrow used soaring dragon steps to dodge the attack. Then Night Sorrow used sky-piercing spear to attack. Although the sky-piercing spear hadn't hit the dark violent bear was enraged. It couldn't hold back its anger as it pounced towards Night Sorrow. The dark violent bear was an extremely violent demonic beast. How could it endure being beaten? After Night Sorrow dodged the dark violent bear's pounce, he waved his hand and shot the sky-piercing spear with ice flood dragon tendon attached to it. The dark violent bear took a step back, dodging Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear. The sky-piercing spear stabbed into a huge rock. However, at this moment Night Sorrow used spatial rend. Spatial fluctuations appeared once again. These spatial ripples were like the surface of a calm water that had been sliced open by a fin. The dark violent bear raised its paw and slapped towards Night Sorrow's spatial rend. Rip. The energy on the dark violent bear's paw was cut open by the spatial rend. Blood flowed out of the bear's paw. At this moment, Night Sorrow used soaring dragon steps. Using the sky-piercing spear stuck in the huge rock as a base, he started to entangle the dark violent bear. Brothers, use your flying swords to meet it head-on. Night Sorrow used the ice flood dragon tendon to entangle the dark violent bear twice. Then he pulled out the sky-piercing spear stuck in the huge rock and charged towards the dark violent bear's back. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, the 30 members of the blood-robed guards shot their flying swords at the dark violent bear's chest. The dark violent bear roared. The energy on its body surged, sending the flying swords of the blood-robed guards flying. At this moment, Night Sorrow stabbed the sky-piercing spear into the dark violent bear's waist. Then he held the reincarnation spear in his right hand horizontally across the dark violent bear's back. The energy of the myriad Dao tome in his body erupted as he pushed the dark violent bear forward. The dark violent bear tried to resist, but Night Sorrow's strength was too great. It couldn't withstand it. Furthermore, its waist had been hit, so it was in too much pain. It could only follow Night Sorrow's strength and charge forward. As Night Sorrow pushed the dark violent bear towards the spatial passageway, he shouted, "Brothers, help me pick up the sky-piercing spear. Let's retreat." After Night Sorrow pushed the dark violent bear out of the spatial passageway, he pushed it against the stone wall at the edge of the pit. "What are you looking at? Kill it." Night Sorrow roared when he saw Lei Hua, Qin Nan, and the others looking at him. Qin Nan walked over and finished off the dark violent bear with a single slash. "You pushed it out just like that?" "Yes. There are many other dark creatures inside, so it's safer to get it out. It's easy for it to fly away," Night Sorrow said as he put away the sky-piercing spear and ice serpent tendon. Then the Bloodstrike guards brought over the 10 sky-piercing spears and handed them to Night Sorrow. Brothers, rest. We won't be working today, Night Sorrow shouted at the Bloodstrike guards in Ho Jian. I'll give you more food today. You're all good, Xianhuan shouted at the resource manager behind him. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei and the others returned to their tents. After drinking the tea brewed by Sikong Chuyu, Night Sorrow felt very satisfied. Drinking tea after a battle was a rare treat. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow changed into a clean set of robes, took off his mask and cleaned himself. Then he went to Wu Lingfei's tent. You're here. Take a seat. Wu Lingfei, who was meditating inside the tent, opened her eyes and said, Aunt Fei, Night Sorrow greeted as he brewed the tea. You performed well. The situation of a battle can change in an instant. If you can seize an opportunity, you have to control it. The dark violent bear was fighting inside, so there were many variables. You brought it out, creating a scene of absolute slaughter, Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow understands. Night Sorrow nodded. Some people have gone through proper training, but their actual control of the situation may not be on point. Some people, although they haven't experienced much, do things in a way that contains truth. This is talent, and you are quite talented in this regard, Wu Lingfei said. Aunt Fei, have you been here all this time? Night Sorrow asked. I should have. What's the matter? You don't want me here? Wu Lingfei wore a mask, but Night Sorrow could sense a smile on her face. No. I feel at ease with you here, Night Sorrow hurriedly explained. Chapter 407. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? I'll provide you with some interesting novels to read. I will. What do you need me to do, Auntie Fei? Night Sorrow asked. There are many things that Auntie Fei can't use right now, unless it's a destiny stone. Ah. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Haven't you used a water destiny stone before? Do you want me to give it to you to study? Night Sorrow asked. That's not necessary. Actually, Auntie Fei's destiny stone isn't completely of the water element. It used to be of the ice element, but it later evolved to the water element. However, there's still a chance that it could evolve to the life element, Wu Lingfei said. That means it needs a life destiny stone. This dark space might not have one. Night Sorrow shook his head. It's very likely that this dark space has a destiny stone of life. Destiny stones always counter each other. In other words, if there's a darkness destiny stone in this dark space, there'll be a corresponding light destiny stone. In addition, Auntie Fei analyzed the energy in this dark space. It feels like darkness energy, but it's actually diluted with death energy. This dark space should be called a death space. Wu Lingfei analyzed for Night Sorrow. According to Auntie Fei's analysis, this is a death space. If there's a death destiny stone here, does that mean it corresponds to a life destiny stone? Night Sorrow said. It's hard to say. There are many intelligent creatures here, and treasures can be easily taken away. This is the rhythm of a chaotic world. The appearance of alternate spaces is an opportunity, but it's also a sign of a chaotic world. Who knows which alternate space has a giant hibernating in it? Wu Lingfei said. Hearing Auntie Fei say that, it's quite scary. Night Sorrow said with a sigh. It's nothing. Everything has its counter. There's always a solution. Even if a great calamity comes, there will be people to face it. Wu Lingfei shook her head. After that, Night Sorrow asked a few more questions before returning to his tent. After chatting with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu for a while, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate, continuing to polish his Jin Qi. Wu Lingfei had given him a direction, and that was to break through to the 5th step in the death space. With a Tier 5 cultivation base, he would be able to protect himself in the death dimension. After all, Tier 5 and Tier 4 were two completely different concepts. With a cultivation of the 5th step in Night Sorrow's life-saving methods, it would be very difficult for anyone below the Venerable Realm to kill him. After all, the defensive effect of the ice silk soft clothes activated by a cultivation of the 5th step would be even stronger. Over the next few days, Night Sorrow and the others kept on killing, but they still didn't attract the dark zombie that Night Sorrow couldn't see the cultivation of. Night Sorrow asked Wu Lingfei, and Wu Lingfei felt that there were two possibilities. The first was that the dark zombie's perception was too low and it didn't notice Night Sorrow and the others. The second was that it ignored Night Sorrow and the others and used the death energy that Night Sorrow and the others produced to cultivate. The first possibility wasn't much, but the second was a big problem. Night Sorrow emphasized to Ho Jian and the others, as well as the blood-robed guards, that if they couldn't resist, they should retreat. After a few days of fighting, the dark creatures near the entrance were mostly cleared out. Night Sorrow also planned to deal with the dark zombie. Before going, Night Sorrow asked Qin Nan and Lei Ho for their opinions. In the end, everyone agreed that they should try their best to lure it out. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment and decided not to bring the blood-robed guards in. Instead he brought Ho Jian, Nan Liue and the others in. If they could lure it out, they would be enough to cover their retreat. If they couldn't, then they would fight. Lei Jing would look at the situation and call for reinforcements. After making preparations, Night Sorrow and the others entered the spatial tunnel. At this time there were only a few dark creatures near the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow and the others casually cleared them out. Love Gong Little Say W. Chu, you guys stand near the entrance and decide on a strategy based on the situation. If this guy is too strong, then you guys run out. If it's average, then we'll deal with it together. Lei Jing, go call for reinforcements, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the dark zombie sitting on the side of the canyon. After speaking, Night Sorrow's body flashed and he approached the dark zombie. When Night Sorrow was 2 li away from the dark zombie, it stood up. Since there's no more fighting, then you can all die. The dark zombie roared and rushed forward, closing the distance between it and Night Sorrow. It brandished its blade and slashed at Night Sorrow. Run! Night Sorrow shouted and turned around to run. When he saw the dark zombie's blade, Night Sorrow knew that the strength of this attack had already exceeded the range of a rank 5 attack. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ho Jian and the others quickly retreated into the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow circulated the myriad Dao Tome's energy and poured it into his legs. He pushed the soaring dragon movement technique to the limit and ran towards the spatial tunnel in an arc. Behind him, crackling sounds could be heard. Those were the sounds of the blade lights slashing the ground. Night Sorrow relied on his soul strength to dodge. He could sense the dark zombie's waving arms and determine the direction and route of its attack. That was why he hadn't been killed. Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer to the spatial tunnel. However, the danger was also increasing because the dark zombie's speed was too fast. The dark zombie swung its blade at Night Sorrow as it chased after him. It was only 7 to 8 jiang away from Night Sorrow. While doing his best to escape, Night Sorrow also used his innate skill, Spatial Rend, to slow down the dark zombie's speed. Once the dark zombie blocked the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow would be in trouble. 2 consecutive spatial rends slashed at the dark zombie. Night Sorrow's body also drew an arc as he approached the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow's spatial rends were dodged by the dark zombie. However, it also slowed down the dark zombie's speed. At this time, the group outside the spatial tunnel had solemn expressions. When they heard Ho Jian say that the dark zombie's blade light could reach a distance of 20 zhang, Lei Hua and Qin Nan's expressions changed. This was not something a rank 5 cultivator could do. Half-step supremacy. Lei Hua and Qin Nan knew that this was a huge crisis for Night Sorrow. This dark zombie was very strong. If one did not mention its control over the energy of heaven and earth, its battle prowess would not be lower than a beginner supremacy. At this time, Wu Lingfei appeared at the spatial tunnel. She was wearing a white robe and a golden mask. Her body was surging with energy, ready to attack at any time. Night Sorrow rushed to the spatial tunnel. When he was just 2 steps away from entering, a pressure suddenly descended. Although it was not as strong as a supremacy's, it still affected Night Sorrow greatly. Affected by this pressure, Night Sorrow's body trembled. At this moment, Night Sorrow's Zhenqi and myriad Dao Tome's energy erupted to defend himself. He knew that he would definitely be attacked. With a muffled sound, Yishang's protective shield was shattered. His silver armor was also shattered, and broken pieces of armor flew everywhere. Following that, Night Sorrow's ice silk soft armor erupted with energy, blocking the dark zombie's attack. However, Night Sorrow's body was sent flying into the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow stumbled out of the spatial tunnel. Be on guard. Lei Hua flashed and appeared beside Night Sorrow. He pulled Night Sorrow back a distance. Chapter 408. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Everyone waited for a while, but the dark zombie didn't come out. If this bastard doesn't come out, then wouldn't I have suffered this for nothing? Night Sorrow said as he took off his tattered robe. GQ's latest, Chapter P and Y Section Z, Y7. This guy is too smart. It doesn't know the situation here, so it doesn't want to take the risk, Qin Nan said. Then what should we do? If it keeps blocking the spatial passageway, then we won't be able to do anything, Night Sorrow said. Don't worry. There's nothing that can't be solved. Commander Qin, guard this place. Don't let it suddenly come out and hurt people. Wu Lingfei said. She waved her arm and brought Night Sorrow back to her tent. According to the situation, that guy is a half-step venerable, so he can't use spatial shackles. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy for you to escape. Are you all right? Wu Lingfei asked Night Sorrow. I'm fine. Fortunately, I have the ice silk soft clothes that Auntie Fei gave me. Otherwise I would really be finished. 2 of the protective silver armors were destroyed by me. Night Sorrow patted his chest, but when he saw his bare shoulders, he quickly took out a robe and put it on. Let Aunt Fei think about this matter and feel that it is impossible to not get this fellow out. Don't talk about you guys being at the peak of the 4th order. Even if you guys were at the peak of the 5th order, you would not be a match for that fellow. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said. That's right, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, everyone has seen the situation today. This fellow has no intention of coming out. Night Sorrow said. That's because there's no reason for it to come out. If there is, then it will definitely come out. This thing will definitely be useful to it. Wu Lingfei took out a black crystal and threw it to Night Sorrow. Auntie Fei, what is this? Night Sorrow held the black crystal and asked. Death crystal, Auntie Fei got it before. This thing has never been useful, but now it is. Just keep it in your bosom. It will definitely sense it and chase after you. Wu Lingfei said. Then I'll try again later. Night Sorrow nodded. Don't worry, just tease it. As long as it comes out, it will definitely die. If it doesn't come out, once it evolves into a dark spirit corpse, it will have the memories of its past life. It will be even more troublesome, just like a human cultivator. At that time it will be even smarter, said Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow nodded and returned to his tent. Ho Jian and the others were still in Night Sorrow's tent. Are you okay? xianxia asked. It's nothing. I was just unlucky enough to be bombed again. I'll rest for a day and deal with it tomorrow, Night Sorrow said as he rubbed his shoulder. Although most of the attack was blocked by the ice silk soft clothes, it still hurt a little. Captain, that guy is a half-step martial saint. Why are you still going to take care of him? Have you been beaten silly? Nan Liua asked. I didn't make it clear. I planned to get it out and let someone else kill it. Love Gone Little Sake Night Sorrow said. It's obviously a smart guy. It won't come out easily, Yang Lei said. Wolves will always eat meat. It just depends on the size of the meat. You don't have to worry, Night Sorrow said. A moment later Lei Hua and Qin Nan came. Qin Nan brought another set of silver soft armor. Give it back to me? I've already broken 2 sets. Let's just forget about it. Yishan was a little embarrassed. Night Sorrow knew that this silver soft armor was very valuable. It was a 5th rank defensive armor. It was very difficult for a 5th rank cultivation to break it. When he wore it, it was broken twice, both by martial saints and half-step martial saints. Take it. If you didn't carry it, who knows how many people would have died. Those 2 sets of soft armor are very valuable, Qin Nan said as he put down the silver soft armor. Then I'll take it. This way I'll feel more confident when I go in tomorrow, Night Sorrow said. You still want to go in? That's a half-step martial saint dark zombie. Other than not being bound by space, its strength is no different from a martial saint, Qin Nan said with a frown. I'm going to lure it out. I'm not going to kill it, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then your safety is also a problem. Its attack strength is too high. A 4th rank cultivator is like porcelain in front of it. It will break with a touch. Leiho was still a little worried. Don't worry. I won't be rash. I'll play with it at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. When it attacks me I'll run. When it chases after me my goal will be achieved, Night Sorrow said. Leihua and Qin Nan nodded. At this time someone called the 2 of them and they left to deal with the matter. Captain, you heal first. We'll go back and rest, Ho Jian said. Then the few of them left Night Sorrow's tent. 13 Who's that woman? Yang Lei asked. She's the Tower Lord of the Celestial Terminus Tower. She's also the senior I met at East Snow Mountain. She was the one who gave me my ice silk robe. Now I call her Aunt, said Yishang. You're really something. You can even do that. Hurry up and rest. Yang Lei and Xikongqiu said. For the past 2 days the 2 of them had been patrolling the island, killing any dark creatures that slipped through the net. It hadn't been tiring for them. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow woke up early. After a night's rest he had recovered very well. After putting on the silver soft armor, Night Sorrow went to the pit. Night Sorrow saw the 30 Bloodstrike guards in the pit. Greetings, Captain. The Bloodstrike guards bowed to Night Sorrow. Okay. You guys go and rest above the pit. After we deal with the dark zombie, we'll go in and fight together, Night Sorrow said. Yes. The blood-robed guards bowed once more to Yishang and withdrew from the pit. 13 You have to be careful. We'll wait for you outside, Xikongqiu said. Her trembling voice showed that she was very worried. A figure appeared out of thin air. Concubine Wu Lingfei appeared beside Yishang. She extended her hand and handed the bracelet of heaven and earth to Yishang. Try not to leave the spatial tunnel. It won't be able to do as it pleases inside. Okay, then I'll go in. Night Sorrow nodded and walked into the spatial tunnel. After entering the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow was very careful. He spread out his soul power and probed the situation in front of him. When he was a meter away from the exit, Night Sorrow found the dark zombie's location. It was meditating about 100 meters away from the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow thought for a moment, then took a step out of the spatial passage. Next, he used his innate divine ability, a spatial rend. Then he took a step back. The chaotic energy within the spatial tunnel would reduce the effectiveness of his attacks. Therefore, after Night Sorrow finished his attack, he returned to the spatial tunnel to avoid the dark zombie's energy suppression. Chapter 409. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. It sensed the aura of death on Night Sorrow's body. That was the energy it needed the most. If it could obtain it, then it would be much easier for it to enter the Exalt realm. After dodging Night Sorrow's space rend attack, the dark zombie charged towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved his hands and shot out the sky-piercing spear with the ice dragon tendon attached to it. The dark zombie waved its blade and blocked twice, sending Yishang's sky-piercing spear flying. It then charged at Yishang. Night Sorrow immediately retreated. He wouldn't fight head-on with the dark zombie because they weren't on the same level. After entering the spatial passage, Night Sorrow returned to the space. 4 shots in the first round. Seeing that Night Sorrow had returned, the others were on high alert. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no movement from the spatial passage. How smart. I'll continue then, Night Sorrow said with a frown. Then Night Sorrow entered the spatial tunnel again. Wu Lingfei glanced at Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu and said, "You don't have to worry. As long as Night Sorrow stays in the spatial passage, or even stays within 30 feet of the spatial passage, I can guarantee his safety." "Thank you, my lord." Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu bowed to Wu Lingfei. "Thank you for your kindness." Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu bowed to Wu Lingfei. "Once the other guy enters the space channel, I'll be able to catch him," Wu Lingfei said, full of confidence. After entering the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow released his soul power and slowly probed forward. When he was 4 feet away from the exit, Night Sorrow discovered the location of the dark zombie. This time it was even closer. It was sitting cross-legged 5 feet away from the passageway. Night Sorrow held the death crystal in his left hand and activated it with his chi. Then he took a step forward and sent out another space-rending slash at the dark zombie. The dark zombie stood up and took a step sideways before charging towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow quickly retreated. He felt that the dark zombie was serious this time. This time it was as Night Sorrow expected. The dark zombie directly charged towards the spatial passage. The death energy was too tempting for it. The moment the dark zombie entered the spatial passage, Night Sorrow discovered that he was imprisoned by energy and was being pulled towards his people. At this moment outside the spatial tunnel, Wu Lingfei's right hand reached out and grabbed at the air. Profound jade spirit chi formed a vortex that rushed into the spatial tunnel and pulled it back. "You're still struggling after entering the spatial passage? Come out." With a roar, Wu Lingfei grabbed Night Sorrow and the dark zombie with her right arm. "Commander Qin, go kill it. It's trash." While speaking, Wu Lingfei waved her arm and separated Yishang from the dark zombie. She pulled Yishang to her side and threw the dark zombie into the air. Then she spoke to Qin Nan. Qin Nan flew towards the dark zombie in the air. "Aunt Fei, take this. It's not comfortable for me to hold it." Night Sorrow gave the death crystal to Wu Lingfei. "Well done. This guy is finally dead." Love Gong Little Say W. Chu Wu Lingfei had been worried about this problem. This half-step venerable realm dark zombie was the key. If they didn't kill it, they wouldn't be able to explore the dark space. Qin Nan and the dark zombie fought in the air. After a few rounds, she killed the dark zombie. Qin Nan could easily kill a venerable realm dark creature, not to mention a half-step venerable realm zombie that couldn't use spatial bind. It was no match for her at all. Qin Nan put away the dark zombie's crystal core and handed it to Wu Lingfei. "Okay, leave a few people here to guard. The rest and prepare for the second step of the plan." Wu Lingfei ordered. Night Sorrow had also returned to the tent. He was very happy that he had solved the problem of the dark zombies in 2 tries. Of course, he knew that this was due to Wu Lingfei's super strength. He didn't give the dark zombies a chance to retreat or regret. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow woke up early. He wanted to know what was going to happen next. He wanted to see what the city lord's mansion and Tianji Tower had planned. Night Sorrow went to Wu Lingfei's tent. Lei Hua and Qin Nan were both there. Night Sorrow, the death space is very dangerous. You can go in or not. No one knows what's going on inside. There's also the possibility of encountering venerables and rank 5 dark creatures. Wu Lingfei said, I'll go in. Sometimes hiding means fear. Cultivators can't be afraid. As long as they live, they will fight endlessly. Night Sorrow said, Okay, but you still have to be careful. You might not know, but one of the venerables of the Star Cloud sect has died in battle. The dark zombie is very strong. The 2 elders of the city lord's mansion have already gone, so you can't underestimate it. Wu Lingfei said, A venerable died in battle? Qin Nan said with some surprise. That's why you have to pay attention to it. Night Sorrow, after you go in, if you have an opportunity to break through, then break through. That way your strength will increase a little. Wu Lingfei emphasized the problem of advancement again. I understand. The dark space can't run away. The stronger we are, the stronger our ability to protect ourselves. Night Sorrow nodded. Night Sorrow, the blood-robed guards under your command are currently rank 4. However, their potential is not bad. Take good care of them. As for resources, Commander Qin will allocate them. Wu Lingfei arranged the blood-robed guards' affairs. Then Lei Hua and Qin Nan left the tent. Night Sorrow, the situation in the death space is more complicated than you think. So you must be careful. Remember the soul pearl I gave you. If you encounter a venerable opponent, crush it. Wu Lingfei mentioned the soul pearl. I'll remember. Night Sorrow nodded. Then go back and prepare. They also need to prepare some resources and some necessary supplies. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Then Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After drinking a cup of tea with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, Night Sorrow held the ice spirit blood essence and began cultivating. Currently, Night Sorrow's true chi cultivation base was unable to increase. He could only increase the myriad Daosh treasured tome and his spiritual strength. The strength of his spiritual strength directly affected the power of his bloodline abilities. The spatial crack attack required spiritual strength to guide its energy. That way it could attack from a long distance with high accuracy. The cultivation of Yishang's soul power was different from the cultivation of Zhenqi in Myriad Tao Treasure Book. The cultivation of Myriad Tao Treasure Book had the assistance of ice spirit blood essence, while the cultivation of Zhenqi had the assistance of medicinal pills and spirit stones. However, the cultivation of soul power had to be done step by step. It was not to say that the cultivation of soul power didn't have any supplementary resources. The supplementary resources of soul power could only be found by chance. Whether it was the soul stone or the soul liquid, they were all legendary things. No one could predict what would happen in the death space. Increasing one's strength would increase one's chances. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow went to the blood-robed guards' tents and left them some wine. Then he went to Wu Lingfei's tent. Chapter 410. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with interesting novels to read. My concentration of true chi is still a little lacking. There's no problem with controlling it. Night Sorrow said. Your situation is the opposite of others. Others would first achieve flawless concentration of true chi and then it would be difficult for them to control it to perfection. It seems like your foundation is really solid. In the past, the void inquiry stage was a test if your foundation was not solid enough. If your foundation is not solid enough, it will be difficult for you to reach the 5th level. It seems like you don't have any problems. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said, My master has reminded me that I can only take 2 pills at each level that can increase my cultivation base quickly. Night Sorrow said, Haste makes waste. Only by cultivating steadily can you go further on your path. You have cultivated your body well. The smoke of essence chi is 10 zhang * 3. 33 m per zhang. This is something that many people can't even dream of. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and nodded her head in satisfaction. The effect of the ice spirit blood essence is stronger. That's why the strength of my body is increasing faster. Night Sorrow checked the smoke of essence chi above his head and said, How's your cultivation of the 7-star brilliant moon spear technique? Wu Lingfei asked. The explosion of true chi can't keep up. Currently I can only combine 4 spears into one. I can barely combine 5 spears into one, but the power is not as good as 4 spears into one. Night Sorrow said. Recently he could barely combine 5 spears into one, but the effect was not as good as 4 spears into one. When you reach the 5th level, you will be able to perfectly combine 5 spears into one. When you reach the middle level, you will be able to combine 6 spears into one. When you reach the peak of the 5th level, you will be able to cultivate the 7-star brilliant moon spear technique to perfection. Wu Lingfei thought for a while and said, I understand. Knight Sorrow nodded. You have done very well. The founder of this spear technique could only combine 3 spears into one when he was at the 4th level. He only managed to achieve perfection when he reached the venerable realm. Wu Lingfei shook her head and said, she was worried that Knight Sorrow would give her too much pressure. Knight Sorrow's cultivation base is a little low. I can't share your burden. Knight Sorrow said apologetically. Don't say that. What are others like when they are 20 years old? What efforts have they made for the Eastern Shen region? You're already very good. If you continue like this, you'll be a banner of the Eastern Shen region in the future, said Wu Lingfei. I will do my best. Knight Sorrow nodded. After chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while and gaining some knowledge, Knight Sorrow returned to his tent and continued cultivating. After 3 days of quiet cultivation, it was time for Knight Sorrow and the others to set off. Knight Sorrow, Ho Jian, Lei Bao, and the 30 Bloodstrike guards arrived at the spatial tunnel. Qin Nan had the City Lord's Mansion's resource manager distribute some resources to Knight Sorrow and the others. After you go in, you must advance steadily. Don't be rash. Safety comes first, Qin Nan said. Auntie Fei, 9th senior sister Chiyu, we are going in. You don't have to worry. I entered the Void Fiend space when I was in core condensation. Now that I am at the peak of spirit severing stage, some difficulties will be easier to solve. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands towards Wu Lingfei and comforted Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Then he led the others into the death space. Everyone, confirm your position when you advance. If you get separated, you can all return. Also, I'll make some arrangements. The Bloodstrike Guard's vice captain, Shui Ling, will be in charge of the team if I'm not around. We'll go to Tianjin Tower and form a 5-man team. Ho Jian will be the vice captain. Knight Sorrow made a series of arrangements. Then the group began to advance. As they advanced, the battle began. There were many dark creatures in the death space. In a day's time, Yi Shang's group had advanced 100 kilometers before setting up camp. Everyone work hard. If you have an opportunity to break through, let us know in advance. If you have the strength to break through, then break through. We have enough confidence, said Knight Sorrow after setting up camp. He then set up a tent and sat down to cultivate. After waking up in the morning, Knight Sorrow found a few people reporting to him that their companions were breaking through. During this period of time, some people in the team had been suppressing their cultivation. They were worried that they wouldn't be able to enter the spatial tunnel if they broke through. Now that they had decided to stay in the death space permanently, there was no need to suppress their cultivation. Ho Jian was also breaking through. This was what Lei Bao told Knight Sorrow. He didn't tell him in advance because he didn't want Knight Sorrow to worry. Emogeopathy's situation made Knight Sorrow very happy. They didn't lack time now, so it was naturally a good thing that they could break through. At noon, the news of successful breakthroughs came one after another. Ho Jian also successfully broke through. Liyue, you're almost there, right? Knight Sorrow asked Nan Liyue. I'll be a few days later. If I knew, I would have rushed with them. I wouldn't have wasted everyone's time. Nan Liyue looked at Ho Jian and pouted. It's fine. You can break through tonight. The others also need to stabilize their cultivation, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Okay, I'll go now. What's so great about a rank 5? Nan Liyue glanced at Ho Jian again and entered the tent. I just don't understand. How did I provoke her? She's always targeting me. Ho Jian rubbed his head and said, you're really incorrigible. Captain, we're also going to cultivate. We're all brothers in the same team. Lei Zheng and I can't fall behind. Lei Bao pulled Lei Zheng to cultivate as well. Knight Sorrow came to the Bloodstrike Guard's tent and clapped his hands to gather everyone. If any of you can break through and didn't make it last night, you can continue tonight. We'll camp here for a few days to solve this problem. After you're done, you can stabilize your cultivation, Knight Sorrow said. After that, Yishan returned to his tent and began cultivating with the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. When others reached the 9th level of the Spirit Severing stage, they could only temper their true chi. However, Knight Sorrow wasn't like that. His myriad Dao Tome, soul strength and bloodline power were all improving. Moreover, there was a lot of room for improvement. He was increasing his strength every moment. After 3 days, the team was fully integrated. There were a total of 7 people who had advanced. There were 5 Bloodstrike Guards, and with Ho Jian and Nan Liyue there were 7 people. The team's strength had increased by a large margin. No one looked down on or disrespected Knight Sorrow just because their cultivation had advanced to the rank 5. Everyone knew that no matter who they were, even if they reached the rank 5, they wouldn't be enough in front of Knight Sorrow. Advancing meant that there would be battles. After a period of training, everyone's cooperation in battle was very good. After advancing for another 2 days, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought when they set up camp at night. His true chi cultivation had reached the point where it couldn't be condensed. In other words, he could break through. He had the opportunity to do so. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow called Ho Jian and Xueling over and told them about his breakthrough. When they heard that Night Sorrow was about to break through, Ho Jian and Xueling's eyes lit up. For the past 2 days, they had been suppressing this matter in their hearts, waiting for Yishang to break through. Yishang was everyone's backbone. Only when Yishang's cultivation improved would everyone feel at ease. Chapter 411. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Advancing from the 4th grade to the 5th grade was a watershed for cultivators. What they needed to do was to break through to the void inquiry stage. They needed to disperse their pill beads and then refine them again to make them complete. This stage was as important as advancing from the essence gathering realm to the core condensation realm. It was the most important stage in a cultivator's cultivation journey. After meditating for a while, Night Sorrow began his breakthrough. The first thing he needed to do was to disperse his pill beads. Night Sorrow controlled his true chi and began to grind the pill beads. He wanted to grind them into powder and then refine them again. If he succeeds, he would enter the void inquiry stage, which allowed him to fly in the sky. If he fails, he would lose all his cultivation base. All his cultivation base would return to the earth. As Night Sorrow's true chi vibrated, his pill beads became smaller and smaller. The true chi in his dantian also became more turbulent. 4 hours later, the pill beads in Night Sorrow's dantian disappeared and turned into surging gelatinous true chi. The first step was completed. Night Sorrow had completed the first step of breaking through to the void inquiry stage. He needed to grind his pill beads. Next, he needed to refine them again. It was time to refine them again. The true chi in Night Sorrow's dantian had already been refined to the extreme. It was all surging gelatinous true chi. If his control over the true chi in his dantian was weak, it would be easy for his true chi to go berserk and explode his dantian. Controlling the true chi in his dantian, Night Sorrow began to compress it towards the center of his dantian. As Night Sorrow continued to compress, the pill beads reappeared in the center of Night Sorrow's dantian. It was a purple pill beads. The 2nd grade essence gathering realm to the 3rd grade core condensation realm was an ordinary pill bead. The 4th grade spiritual clone would also refine a pill bead when he advanced to the void inquiry stage. However, it was different from the ordinary pill beads of the core condensation realm. The pill beads he was refining now were of different attributes. It was completely different from the pill beads refined by the core condensation realm. After the purple pill beads appeared, Night Sorrow poured his gelatinous true chi into them to strengthen them. Time slipped away bit by bit. The surging true chi in Night Sorrow's dantian became less and less, and the dan bead also became bigger and bigger. 2 hours. 4 hours. 6 hours later, all of the true energy in Night Sorrow's dantian region was gone. It was all sucked into the violet medicinal pearl. At the moment when the true chi in Night Sorrow's dantian completely entered the dan bead, Night Sorrow's dan bead started to automatically rotate, at the same time releasing a light purple-colored true chi. Rank 5. Void inquiry stage. At this moment, Night Sorrow's cultivation base entered the 5th level of the void inquiry stage. Outside the tent, Ho Jian and Xueling could finally relax. They had been very worried about Night Sorrow. Love gone little sake ku among the people who entered the death space, the failure of the others would only affect one of them. If Night Sorrow failed, the whole team would be affected. Night Sorrow was now the soul of the team. With Night Sorrow around, everyone would have a backbone. After successfully breaking through, Night Sorrow began to stabilize his cultivation base. Ho Jian and Xueling arranged for the others to continue to rest because Night Sorrow also needed some time to stabilize his cultivation base. And only 1/9L% I/9L all I is B Steel L version Y. Night Sorrow was experiencing the situation after entering the void inquiry stage. He realized that the true chi in his dantian was constantly rushing towards the top of his head. This was the true chi rushing towards the top of his head. The others had to take this opportunity to open up their divine sea. Night Sorrow's divine sea had already been opened, but he did not waste this opportunity to increase his true chi. He directly expanded his divine sea. After a while, Night Sorrow's divine sea had expanded by 1/3. However, it had also reached its limit. Since he could no longer expand his divine sea, Night Sorrow continued to stabilize his cultivation base. At noon, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion. He had completely stabilized his cultivation base at the 5th rank. Captain? Seeing Night Sorrow come out, the members of the blood-robed guards who were practicing and resting, as well as Ho Jian and the others, greeted him. My breakthrough was delayed for some time. Let's pack up and set off. Night Sorrow said. After the group took down the tents, they continued to move forward. When the dark creatures appeared, they would attack and kill them. The speed of their advance increased by a lot because everyone's strength had increased. Especially Night Sorrow, when he brandished his reincarnation spear, he could combine 5 spears into one. None of the dark creatures could withstand his attacks. Captain, your spear technique is too domineering. What spear technique is that? Lei Zhang, who was following beside Night Sorrow, asked. 7-star brilliant moon spear. I haven't mastered it yet. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You haven't mastered it yet? This is going to cost your life. Nan Liyue lamented. She hadn't been able to take on Night Sorrow's spear technique. This fact made her realize that the gap between her and Night Sorrow hadn't closed just because she had advanced. Instead, the gap between the two of them had widened. During the night's rest, Night Sorrow upgraded his combat skills. First, he upgraded his movement technique. He upgraded the Soaring Dragon Steps to the Soaring Dragon Steps. The Soaring Dragon Steps wasn't just used for ground combat. It could also be used for aerial combat. While the others were resting, Night Sorrow cultivated his movement technique and combat skills. Not only did he upgrade his movement technique, but he also upgraded his Covering Sky hand and upgraded the Energy Destroying hand to the Earth Shaking hand. While Night Sorrow cultivated, Ho Jian, Lei Bao, Lei Zhang and Nan Liyue drank tea. The Blood Strike guards camped on the other side. After all, the two groups weren't of the same order. One group belonged to Tianji Tower, while the other came from the City Lord's mansion. Ordinary cultivators would feel reverence or fear when they saw the people from the Empyrean Terminus Tower. However, this didn't apply to the Blood Strike guards. They were all prideful and had undergone strict training at the City Lord's mansion. Not only had they strengthened their cultivation, but they had also strengthened their minds. Ho Jian shook his head as he watched Night Sorrow cultivate. After we advanced, our combat strength increased a lot. However, it's definitely not as abnormal as his. Mid-stage 5th order cultivation isn't necessarily his match. Perhaps only late-stage 5th order cultivators can suppress him. Ho Jian said. Yes, there's no need to be jealous. Look at how he cultivates. The effort he puts in is completely different, Lei Bao said. Night Sorrow cultivated all his combat skills once before going to Ho Jian's side to drink tea. Captain, your strength has increased a lot again, Lei Bao said. I still have tranquility pills here. Do you need them? Night Sorrow saw that Lei Bao and Lei Zhang's cultivation had increased to the 7th stage of the spirit severing stage. We have tranquility pills. We plan to stabilize our cultivation first before eating them, Lei Bao said. I'm also an alchemist. I can refine pills. If you have any needs, just tell me, Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of tea. Captain, what kind of pills can you refine? Nan Liyue asked curiously. I can refine pills below 5th order. I haven't tried refining pills above 5th order yet. I need to practice, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Too shameless. I found that there's nothing Captain can't do, Lei Jing said while shaking his head. Our Medicine Valley is a sect that specializes in alchemy. There's nothing strange about me being able to refine pills, right? Night Sorrow still had one thing that he didn't mention, and that was that the Medicine Valley's refining standards weren't low either. After advancing, Night Sorrow found that the Reincarnation Spear could withstand 5th order true chi. This proved that the Reincarnation Spear was a 5th order weapon. This also made Night Sorrow extremely happy because he didn't have to consider changing weapons. Changing weapons was a very troublesome matter. The most important thing was that Night Sorrow had a very deep relationship with the Reincarnation Spear. Chapter 412. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. That's true. In the future, not only will you be a cultivation expert, but you'll also be an alchemy grandmaster. Nan Liyue said with some emotion. Don't be so emotional. In the future, if you want to refine any pills, I can refine them without a problem. Night Sorrow said with a smile. And it's a great thing to know an alchemy grandmaster. Nan Liyue nodded with a smile. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow returned to his own tent to meditate and cultivate. He did not consume any spiritual essence of origin. His quintessential chi cultivation had just advanced, so he had to prioritize stability. He was now cultivating with the ice spirit blood essence in his hands. He wanted to speed up the cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome. He wanted to raise the cultivation level of the myriad Dao treasured tome to the 5th tier and to the Dao seeking realm. As for the Dao querying realm required for the myriad Dao treasured tome, Night Sorrow had no idea. He intended to reach the Dao querying realm first. After a night of cultivation, the group continued on their journey. Night Sorrow was at the front, and whenever he saw any dark creatures, he would shoot them 5 times with his spear, killing them instantly. "Captain, you should go to the back. If you do this, we won't even have a chance to practice our combat skills," Xueling said. "That's what I'm thinking too. You can kill at the front and we'll be fine at the back. So, Captain, you should rest at the back. If there's someone we can't handle, you'll go up." Ho Jian opened his mouth and said. "You're reading on novel full thanks," Ho Jian said. "All right. You guys lead the way, I'll bring up the rear," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then Xueling and Ho Jian took the lead while Night Sorrow followed behind. With nothing else to do, Night Sorrow let Tianyu out for some fresh air. At this time, Tianyu was already at the peak of rank 4 level 6. His beak, claws and feathers were all glowing with light. He was very handsome. Seeing Night Sorrow's mount, the Bloodstrike guards were envious. Their mounts were blood pheasant eagles. Everyone had the same mount. This kind of mount could be developed to the peak of Tier 4 and was raised by Dongxian City's City Lord Manor. Over the next few days, everything was quiet. They had also advanced 1,000 miles, so Night Sorrow had no chance to make a move. Baidu search AI go female xianxia say www.ichuxs.com. After setting up camp again, Night Sorrow fed Tianyu a beast pill. Currently, the beast vitality pill was of no help to Tianyu's cultivation. It was only able to solve the problem of his diet. After settling Tianyu's issue, Night Sorrow went back to his tent to cultivate. Ho Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guard, admired his diligence the most. After entering the death space, Night Sorrow spent almost all of his energy on cultivation. In the middle of the night, Night Sorrow woke up with a start. His intuition had instinctively sensed danger. "Be on guard." Night Sorrow roared as he rushed out of his tent. Following Night Sorrow's roar, Ho Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guard, gathered together and prepared for battle. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in the sky. Thanks to the moonlight, everyone could clearly see that it was a humanoid shadow with a tail behind it. It was a humanoid demonic beast. A humanoid demonic beast whose cultivation base couldn't be seen clearly. Normally, demonic beasts that entered the Tier 6 Clear Sky realm, which was the Venerate realm, would be able to take on a humanoid form. However, some demonic beasts chose to take on a humanoid form after entering the Tier 5 Clear Sky realm. "Everyone retreat." After giving the order, Night Sorrow rushed forward to the front of the group. The humanoid dark demonic beast landed not too far away from Night Sorrow and the others. Tier 5 cultivators and demonic beasts could fight in the air. However, there was no ground beneath their feet, so it wasn't as convenient as fighting on the ground. Thanks to the moonlight, Night Sorrow could see that the humanoid demonic beast's tail was as thick as a human head and had reflective scales on it. This proved that this humanoid demonic beast was a serpent-type demonic beast. While Night Sorrow was sizing up this fellow, the dark serpent charged at Night Sorrow. Its scaled fists were aimed directly at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment. Then, his true chi and the myriad Tao Tome's energy erupted and he blasted out a breaking killing fist at the dark serpent. Since he couldn't see the dark serpent's cultivation base, he wanted to test this fellow's strength and decide on a battle strategy. Bang! With a loud explosion, Night Sorrow's body was sent flying by the impact. His right arm trembled uncontrollably, while the dark serpent only took 2 steps back. "You can't fight it. This fellow's cultivation base is above the mid-5th stage. Retreat. Either you leave this space or go to the entrance of the space tunnel to investigate." Night Sorrow roared and charged at the dark serpent. This time, Night Sorrow took out his reincarnation spear and executed the 7-star dazzling moon spear to the extreme. He attacked the dark serpent. "Captain, let's try again." Xueling and the others weren't willing to leave Night Sorrow behind and retreat. They immediately stepped forward and attacked the dark serpent. However, the effect was different from Night Sorrow's. Night Sorrow could still fight, but they were all sent flying by the dark serpent's attacks. The blood-robed guards, Ho Jian, and the others couldn't break through the dark serpent's protective shield. The dark serpent didn't care about the attacks. Its palms turned into sharp claws and attacked Ho Jian, Shui, and the others. After a while, 7 or 8 people were injured. Ho Jian, Xueling, take the others and retreat. This is an order. Night Sorrow roared. He waved his reincarnation spear and pushed it in front of the dark serpent, giving the others a chance to retreat. Xianhu, which Night Sorrow didn't put away, also pounced at the dark serpent. This was the dark serpent's innate talent. It wasn't afraid of demonic beasts of a higher level than itself. No matter how high its level was, it wouldn't be able to suppress it. It could fight. This guy's cultivation must be at the late stage of the 5th rank. What will you do if we retreat? Nan Liyue shouted. What can I do? Of course I'll run. You guys hurry up and retreat. I'll be exhausted later and won't be able to escape even if I want to. Stop talking nonsense and retreat quickly. Night Sorrow was a little anxious. The dark serpent's ability was too strong. Every time it attacked, there was a violent sound of energy breaking through the air. Captain, be careful. Ho Jian, the others, and the blood-robed guards shouted to Night Sorrow and began to retreat. The team will be led by Shueling and Ho Jian. You two communicate. Night Sorrow gave another order. *L original P/version V initial L release 7 Night Sorrow circled around the dark python and quickly shot out his spear, entangling the dark python and preventing it from attacking or chasing others. Ho Jian's group and the Bloodstrike guards quickly disappeared into the night. At this moment, Night Sorrow decided to run. He knew that he had no chance of defeating this dark flood serpent. The difference between them was too great. The best solution was to run. It was reckless and irrational to continue fighting even if one couldn't win. After shouting at Xianhu to take off, Night Sorrow fired a powerful shot at the dark serpent. Bang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow was forced back. Taking advantage of the distance, Night Sorrow used his innate skill, Space Rend, to slash at the dark serpent. Then he flew and grabbed Xianhu's sharp claws with his left hand. He then put away his reincarnation spear and shot the ice serpent's sky-piercing spear at the dark serpent, forcing it to retreat. Night Sorrow planned to use Xianhu's speed to escape. Cultivators and demonic beasts that had reached the 5th rank could fly. However, there were differences in speed. Demonic beasts that couldn't fly wouldn't necessarily be as fast as 4th rank flying demonic beasts even if they reached the 5th rank. This was an innate skill. Chapter 413. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow grabbed Xianhu's claws with his left hand and the sky-piercing spear with the ice serpent's tendon in his right hand. He was waiting for an opportunity to attack. After the first attack, the distance between him and the dark serpent was a bit too far. It wasn't that Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear couldn't hit the dark serpent. If the ice serpent's tendon wasn't tied, then Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear could shoot very far and cause a lot of damage. However, he wouldn't be able to get it back. Night Sorrow didn't want to lose the sky-piercing spear. Plus, there wasn't much danger right now. This dark serpent was very strong, but there was still a big gap between it and the half-step venerable realm dark zombie. The distance and strength of its energy attack couldn't threaten Xianhu and Night Sorrow. Seeing that the distance was safe, Night Sorrow exerted force with his left arm. His body drew a semicircle and landed on Xianhu's back. Standing on Xianhu's back and looking at the dark serpent, Night Sorrow felt relieved. The dark serpent wasn't fast enough to catch up to Xianhu. Xianhu let circle around it. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow realized that the dark serpent's speed was indeed its weakness. Since it couldn't catch up to Xianhu, then it could rely on speed. Hearing Night Sorrow's order, Xianhu began to fly in circles. Night Sorrow took the opportunity to shoot the sky-piercing spear at the dark serpent. 2 sky-piercing spears with ice serpent's tendons weren't enough. Night Sorrow took out his remaining 3 ice serpent's tendons and tied them to his left arm. He shot them at Night Sorrow, who was chasing Xianhu. He wanted to use up the dark serpent's energy shield. The dark serpent's speed was not as fast as Xianhu's, so it could only fall behind and take a beating. This made it roar angrily. In its eyes, Night Sorrow and Xianhu were just small fries, but now it was being beaten up. The enraged dark serpent began to wildly unleash energy attacks. However, the effects weren't great. Under Night Sorrow's command, Xianhu's body was extremely nimble. The dark serpent's energy attacks couldn't reach Xianhu. Look at the L version, chapter R on Y. This was a situation that Night Sorrow was happy to see. The dark serpent had expended a lot of energy by using such a powerful attack. As for his and Xianhu's consumption, Night Sorrow wasn't worried at all. He had the spiritual elixir of origin and was rich. The problem of consumption didn't exist for Night Sorrow. Xianhu flew in circles while Night Sorrow threw the sky-piercing spear continuously to attack the dark serpent's protective barrier. After an hour, Night Sorrow gave Xianhu a drop of spiritual elixir of origin so that Xianhu was in peak condition. He also took a drop himself. He had been using all kinds of energy techniques to throw the sky-piercing spear to wear down the dark serpent's protective barrier. His consumption wasn't small either. Baidu search AI go xiao www.ux. While Night Sorrow and Xianyu had expended a lot of energy, the dark serpent wasn't much better off. Its protective barrier was already shaking, and more than half of its abundant true qi had been used up. Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear, which carried a spiraling force, shattered the dark serpent's protective barrier. Seeing the dark serpent's protective barrier shatter, Night Sorrow's hands shook, and the sky-piercing spear began to throw continuously. Compared to the beginning of the battle of attrition, the attack speed and power had increased. Baidu search AI go xiao www.ux. Come in the beginning, it was a battle of attrition. Now it was a battle of attrition. Night Sorrow's strategy was naturally different. The dark serpent's temper was extremely bad. It waved its claws to block the sky-piercing spears. As it waved its arms, the sky-piercing spears were all sent flying. However, its arms were left with many bloody wounds from the sky-piercing spears. After a while, the scales on the dark serpent's arms disappeared, and in some places, white bones were exposed. The battle raged. Night Sorrow inserted the 5 sky-piercing spears with ice serpent tendons into his waist and leaped towards the dark serpent. The dark serpent's energy was almost depleted, but Night Sorrow was not afraid. He directly leaped from Xianyu's back and charged towards the dark serpent. At the same time, his true qi exploded as he used the 7-star brilliant moon spear. At this moment, if he could not win, Night Sorrow could also shoot the bone-rotting poison needles. When the dark serpent had its protective barrier, the poison needles were ineffective. Now, the dark serpent's protective barrier had been shattered. Seeing Night Sorrow fighting in close combat, the dark serpent roared and raised its right claw, slapping towards Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Crick. Night Sorrow was forced back, but the dark serpent was not in a good state either. The scales in the center of its claw were shaken off, and there was a large bloody hole in its claw. After succeeding in one move, Night Sorrow endured the recoil and continued to charge towards the dark serpent. The man and the beast began to fight head-on. Night Sorrow's cultivation was low, but he was currently at his peak. The dark serpent's cultivation was high, but it had consumed a lot of energy. It could only display 30% to 40% of its strength. After a series of explosions, Night Sorrow's forehead was covered in sweat, and his arms were trembling uncontrollably. The dark serpent was in an even worse state. Its arms were already badly mutilated. If it was not for its innate talent and strong body, its arms would have been cut off. Feeling that he had consumed a lot of energy, Night Sorrow flew back to Xianyu's back and took another drop of origin spiritual liquid to recover. Xianyu flew around the dark serpent and took the opportunity to attack. A moment later, Night Sorrow had recovered to his peak state. Taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow jumped up from Xianyu's back and charged towards the dark serpent again. This was a battle of attrition. Xianyu was fast and was already in an undefeatable position. Night Sorrow had nothing to worry about and gave up on shooting the poison needles. The sky was already bright. Even if they fought until nightfall, Night Sorrow would be able to hold on. This time, Night Sorrow finally had some results. In close combat, Night Sorrow used the earth-shaking hand and knocked away the dark serpent's left claw. However, Night Sorrow was also forced back, and the blood in his chest became unstable. When Night Sorrow returned to Xianyu's back and was about to rest, the dark serpent began to run. It had a violent temperament, but at this point in the battle, it knew that it would not have a good ending if it continued. Run. After fighting for half the night, how could Night Sorrow let it run away? Wouldn't that be a waste of time? Night Sorrow rode Xianyu and began to give chase. The sky-piercing spear was constantly shot at the dark serpent. At this time, about 200 miles away from Night Sorrow, the Bloodstrike guards and Ho Jian were deep in thought. Vice Captain, we can't lose the captain, right? What face do we have left? Shui Fei said. What do you guys plan to do? Xueling asked Ho Jian. The dark serpent is very strong, but it shouldn't be a problem for the captain to retreat. I'm just worried that the captain won't be able to find us, Ho Jian said. Let's go and take a look. Just waiting like this makes me feel uneasy. I regret listening to him and retreating. That was too disloyal, Lei Bao said regretfully. It's not your fault. Following orders is the most important thing in a team battle. Let's go and take a look, Ho Jian said. Chapter 4:14. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Demonic beasts had strong bodies, and a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the dark serpent didn't have a protective shield, it still had some protective energy. Night Sorrow couldn't deal a fatal blow to it. Night Sorrow's crisis had been completely resolved. The dark serpent had lost half of its arm and claws, so it didn't have much strength to fight back. Moreover, it was already scared of Night Sorrow, so it just ran away. It didn't have any intention of fighting back. Night Sorrow and Xianxia took charge and chased after the dark serpent. The dark serpent was running away, getting further and further away from the original battlefield. After an hour, the dark serpent was hundreds of miles away. It just kept running and didn't choose a direction. At this moment, the Blood Strike Guards and Ho Jian's group of 4 had returned to the place where they had encountered the dark serpent. Stupid. Section AQ above C. Why is the ground covered in blood? Where is the captain? Lei Bao's eyes turned red when he saw the blood on the ground. Why are you in such a hurry? Calm down. The smell of blood is very strong and there are also broken scales. This proves that the injured dark serpent isn't the captain, Nan Liyue yelled at Lei Bao. Yes, the battle was very intense. There are no corpses here. It seems like there was a chase and the victor was the captain, Xueling said after surveying the battlefield. That's good. If anything happened to the captain, I would never be able to forgive myself, Lei Bao said. Let's wait here, Xueling said. Night Sorrow rode on Xianxia and chased after the dark serpent, constantly attacking it. The dark serpent was running for its life, so its potential was revealed. Even though its back was almost pierced by the sky-piercing spear, it didn't stop. Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong. The direction the dark serpent was running in was very rich with dark energy, or rather death energy. In such an environment, it was easy for other heaven-defying dark creatures to be born. Night Sorrow was worried, so he decided to end the battle quickly. He controlled Xianxia to increase his speed and overtook the dark serpent. He then jumped off Xianxu's body and waved his reincarnation spear. The reincarnation spear was imbued with vibrational force. The dark flood dragon snake swung its right claw towards the reincarnation spear. A strong vibrating sound was heard. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear exploded with vibrating energy, shaking off the dark dragon snake's right claw. Then Night Sorrow raised his hand, and the reincarnation spear pierced into the dark dragon snake's neck. Next, he swung his hands horizontally and chopped off the dark dragon snake's head. After ending the battle, Night Sorrow opened up the dark serpent's abdomen and collected the core. The cores and cores of demonic beasts and cultivators were usually in the abdomen or head. Night Sorrow felt that the dark dragon snake's energy source was in its abdomen, so he was sure that the dark dragon snake's core was in its abdomen. Night Sorrow then cut off the dark dragon snake's tail and right claw. These were all treasures. There were also 2 night luminescent pearls, which also had the effect of detoxification. After collecting these, Night Sorrow began to survey the area in front of him. The death energy ahead was very dense, but Night Sorrow felt that there was something in this death energy that was attracting him. Night Sorrow fed Xianxia a drop of spiritual liquid and let it rest in the beast-taming space. He continued to move forward. In the death energy, Night Sorrow's vision was blocked, so his visibility was very low. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow released his soul power to investigate. This was the benefit of having soul power. Night Sorrow's soul power could cover a radius of 2 miles. Moreover, it was a coverage without any blind spots. It was much more effective than vision. Love Gon Little Say, Netka relying on his soul power to investigate, Night Sorrow slowly moved forward. Although he could detect if there were any dark creatures within a radius of 2 miles, he was still worried. If a dark creature with a stronger soul power discovered him before he could detect it, he would be in trouble. He advanced step by step. After advancing for 5 kilometers, Night Sorrow found the place that attracted his attention. It was a call 2 kilometers ahead. The place that caused Night Sorrow's special feeling was this kernel. However, Night Sorrow's soul power could not detect it because there was a strong energy interference. After entering the call, Night Sorrow was stunned. At the same time, he was a little depressed. There were a lot of death crystals in this call, but they were useless to him because their attributes were not compatible. Night Sorrow thought for a while and felt that it was necessary to dig them up. He did not need them, but he could exchange them. After all, they were attribute crystals. Holding the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow began to dig. He followed the principle of not letting go of good things. Even if he gave it to Tianji Tower, he could still exchange it for some resources. As he dug, the death crystals entered Night Sorrow's storage ring. After digging for a while, Night Sorrow was tired. He took out a jar of wine and drank a mouthful. At this time, Night Sorrow discovered that there was a flash of light not far ahead. As he walked closer, Night Sorrow rubbed his eyes. He was afraid that his eyes were playing tricks on him. In the middle of the death crystals, there was a corpse sitting cross-legged. The corpse was surrounded by milky white crystals, followed by black death crystals. As Night Sorrow walked forward, the corpse was instantly turned into ashes because of the air fluctuation caused by Night Sorrow. A storage ring also fell to the ground. Night Sorrow went forward and picked up the storage ring. He then observed the milky white crystals around him. Soul crystals. Yishan discovered that this milky white crystal contained extremely dense soul energy. It was the most precious of all the attribute crystals. It was a soul crystal that was more valuable than any other crystal. Even the top-tier destruction crystals and void crystals, as well as the high-tier life crystals and death crystals, couldn't compare to a soul stone. Attribute crystals needed to correspond to a cultivator's own attribute, while soul stones were needed by all cultivators and could be used. Of course, this only applied to cultivators at tier 5 and above who could cultivate soul power. Holding the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow began to dig. Night Sorrow was excited. This was a treasure that could solve a big problem. After digging for a while, Night Sorrow dug out over 300 pieces of soul crystals. He did not even let go of the small pieces. Night Sorrow then started to dig at the death crystals in the canyon. At the same time, Night Sorrow also pondered the reason for the formation of soul crystals and death crystals. As he pondered, Night Sorrow came to a realization. The formation of these death crystals and soul crystals had something to do with the corpse from before. Night Sorrow suspected that the corpse belonged to a cultivator with the death attribute. Due to the corpse's death, its energy and soul power had scattered, forming death crystals and soul crystals. After digging out all the crystals, Night Sorrow checked again and again to make sure that he did not miss anything. He then retreated from the valley and left this special area. He then released Xianxia and rushed towards the battlefield. What Night Sorrow did not know was that while he was flying with Xianxia, Ho Jian's group and the blood-robed guards had retreated. They planned to wait for Night Sorrow near the entrance. Chapter 4:15. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? I'll provide you with some interesting novels to read. Night Sorrow's soul power wrapped around the silver-gray ancient storage ring for a moment. Then a special space appeared. What a big space! Night Sorrow was shocked. The space in this storage ring was more than 10 times bigger than the storage rings left behind by Feng Chen and Lu Shan. Just as Night Sorrow was about to check what was in the storage ring, a wave of energy appeared. Xianxia extended his wings, but he couldn't retract them. Everything became still. Then an energy figure appeared in front of Xianxia. The energy figure was wearing a long robe made of coarse cloth. He had a head of white hair that reached his shoulders. His eyes were fixed on Night Sorrow. This figure was exactly the same as the corpse. Night Sorrow couldn't be more shocked. Time is like a knife. You're not bad, young man. Unfortunately, you don't have the death attribute, the old man said. As the old man spoke, Night Sorrow realized that he could move again. However, Xianxia and the space around him were still. Junior didn't mean to offend Senior. It's just that the corpse has been weathered and can't be buried. Night Sorrow was sure that the old man had something to do with the corpse. Since I'm already dead, the corpse is just a bag of skin. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. This remnant of my soul has always been in the storage ring. It was your soul power that awakened this remnant of my soul, the old man said. Senior, do you have any last wishes that I can fulfill? Night Sorrow asked. That's right. This storage ring was left behind by yours truly. Within it is yours truly's legacy. If you can promise to find a legacy for yours truly's skill, then yours truly's legacy will be yours. If you can't, then yours truly will shatter this storage ring, the old man said. However, Senior, you should know that it is very difficult to encounter a cultivator with the death attribute. Even if you do encounter a cultivator with the death attribute, it will depend on their temperament. If a cultivator with a bad temperament were to obtain Senior's legacy, it would be a disaster. Thus, I would rather destroy this storage ring than make a careless promise, said Night Sorrow after some thought. You're right to think that way. As long as you promise to pass down my secret codex of death to a suitable cultivator of the death attribute, that will do, said the old man. Senior, don't worry. I can do that, Night Sorrow said. That's fine. The resources in this storage ring are all yours. You can also study the secret codex of death. Additionally, there are some medicinal pills with the death attribute in this storage ring. I hope you can leave them for that disciple of mine whom I have yet to meet. The old man sighed. At the same time, his energy figure dimmed slightly. I will definitely do it, Night Sorrow said. Good. Truth be told, I like you more. However, you possess the void attribute. I will not lead you astray. After hearing Night Sorrow's promise, the old man nodded his head in satisfaction. Senior, you flatter me. If there is anything else you need me to do, please tell me. If I can help, I will definitely do it, Night Sorrow said. Then help me with one more thing. I am from the Western Underworld. The sect I belong to is the Dark Island. If you have time, go to the Dark Island and have a look. You can write a copy of my secret Codex of Death and send it to the Dark Island. If my sect is destroyed, then forget it. There is no need for you to deliberately go. You can go whenever it is convenient, said the old man. Western Underworld? Is it the Western Underworld region? Night Sorrow asked. What Western Underworld region? Asked the old man in return. The Western Underworld region of the 9 regions and 18 states. I have never heard of a place called the Western Underworld, Night Sorrow said. 9 regions and 18 states? Western Underworld region? I do not know. Tell me, said the old man after pondering for a moment. Night Sorrow began to talk about the history and current situation of the 9 regions and 18 states. That war back then should be the War of Investiture. So, even if I die, it will not change anything. That was not the last war. When the 9 regions and 18 states prosper again and reach a new peak, such a war will happen again. After speaking, the old man's figure began to fade. Senior, how can I help you? Night Sorrow was a little anxious. When the energy dissipated, the old man would disappear as well. This is a strand of my soul. When the power of my soul is exhausted, everything will end. The old man shook his head. Night Sorrow took out a soul crystal and tossed it over, hoping it would be of help to the old man. When the soul crystal reached the old man's hand, it instantly turned into a pale white stone. The old man's energy body stabilized a little. Ah, this is the power of my origin after I died. After being refined by the energy of heaven and earth, it became a soul crystal. In fact, you don't need to know too much. If you know too much, it will create pressure. The so-called War of Investiture is actually a war between a group of people who are unwilling to be suppressed and want to break the shackles, said the old man. Senior, why are there so many dark creatures in this space? Night Sorrow asked. In the war back then, I was worried that the mountains and rivers of the Western Underworld region would be damaged, so I shattered the space barrier between the dark space and the 9 regions world you speak of. I fought with my opponent in this dark space. Perhaps the 9 regions world was shattered, and some of the mountains, rivers, and earth entered here. Some of the corpses buried in the mountains, rivers, and earth mutated. The old man thought for a moment and explained. Then I understand. Senior died for the 9 regions world. If there is anything else you want me to do, I will definitely do it, Night Sorrow said. At the same time, he tossed another soul crystal to the old man. There is nothing else. There's nothing else. By the way, my opponent back then was a life attribute saint. She was struck by my soul destruction slash and should have died here as well. Search for her, you might be able to find something. She was heavily injured and should have left in the direction of the east. Remember, she's an insidious and cunning person, the old man said. Senior, is there no way to recover? Seeing that the soul crystal couldn't bring back the old man's figure, Night Sorrow was a little anxious. There is no such possibility. Everything is over, but isn't it also a new beginning? Said the old man with a smile. A new beginning? Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. I, the Dark Spirit Saint, am not so easy to be completely destroyed. I have kept a wisp of my soul in the storage ring for so many years to gather soul fragments in preparation for today, to prepare for reincarnation. Your soul power is full of vitality. Under the stimulation of your soul, I can now do this, said the old man. Reincarnation. Can it really be reincarnated? Night Sorrow was a little surprised. When you reach a certain level, you will understand some of the principles of heaven and earth. Immortality can be cultivated. It is possible to control the power of reincarnation. The road of cultivation is really long and endless, the old man said with a sigh. After saying that, the old man waved his right hand and a spatial crack appeared. Look at F*** version A. Chapter S section T upper FJ. Night Sorrow looked at the old man in shock.